I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so this is not me trying to toot my own horn, or as Jerry calls, give myself flowers. Jerry Griffin, by the way, in another episode of this season, but I met you at ACE this year, 2023 in Toronto. It's on video. But I know that was a moment for you, but it was a moment for me because a lot of the things that you shared about what just the work of the lab has meant for you as a water professional. And I think it's not about the lab. It's about like what the pieces of the lab meant for you. And so I really want to share your story, and I want you to share those pieces, like what that meant to feel like there was a space for you. So I want to, if you don't mind, sharing your story, your water story with me.
Yes, so it's hard to get to that place without starting from where I began.
Start from the beginning,
which
girl.
was really not much. So I am from a really small town called Ceres, California.
Okay.
Ceres is inside Modesto, and in that place, really your trajectory is you're going to be going to one place, either to community college, a local community college called Modesto Junior College, or Stan State.
Okay.
And normally, coming from that high school, it was like MJC was the thing. So when I graduated from high school, I decided to go to Modesto Junior College. Shout out Pirates. And it was a really great experience. I was there for 4 years, and that was 4 years too long. You're supposed to be at community college for 2.5 years, but I really had a blast there. And I figured out a lot about myself, but there were still things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So leaving that place, which it took a lot of people to push me out since I was so comfortable there. And when I finally got pushed out and I realized I can do more, I went to Howard University.
Nice.
And when I got to Howard University, I was studying political science and Arabic. At the time, I thought I wanted to work for UNHCR and be out in the field. But after I lived in Morocco, I realized, like, okay, I'm still trying to be this person that I didn't actually want to be. And that took a lot of time to figure that out. And by the time I graduated from Howard University, the one thing that stuck with me from community college till that place was public health. Public health was something that I thought about, that I really cared about my community in the aspect of health, of water, of what they were eating, how much of the things they were eating, how can we do community engagement to help them, have the best reality for their life. And it took a lot of years to get there. So from that point, I decided, okay, I'm gonna get my master's in public health, which I did not think I ever wanted to get my master's in public health.
Yeah.
Because from community college to the point of that thought, I always kept a GPA of like 2.3 to a 2.5. That was just my regular standard because I have a learning disability. And I always thought, well, what could I do with this learning disability, even though I had all these amazing skills? It goes back to that imposter syndrome of like, I'm not really good enough. How do I get there? So when I made the decision to go into public health, that really showed me that I was ready to do it. And when I got into University of Maryland, I'm now in the Maya program for environmental health sciences. That was me telling myself, you can do it. But even getting into that place, students come in with 3.5s, 3.7 GPA. And I didn't even think from that point, even though I got into the program, like, how can I really do this? But I had amazing people. I'm going to talk about you soon, but some people before you that do help with this transition of me staying in environmental health sciences. A woman named Dr. Rachel Rosenberg Goldstein, she told me, I think that you can do this. I think you can be an environmental health scientist. Yes, you have a learning disability, but you can change the way that you learn to make sure you get through the program.
Yeah.
So she gave me an opportunity, and at the time, I had a a small inference in my mind of water, but I didn't know what that looked like or how to get there. So Dr. Rachel was doing research on water with minority groups and populations. And I thought, okay, I don't know what that means, but I just want to work with you. Can I work with you?
Yeah.
So I was her intern, and the first day in her laboratory, we were doing some things on E. coli and MRSA. And she's like, do you know what a pipette is? And I was like, what's a pipette? I was afraid to even admit to her that I didn't know what a pipette was because, like, that's what you do in a lab. You use a pipette.
Yeah.
And she just, like, simply smiled, and she's like, perfect. And from there, she taught me how to use a pipette. And starting with 0 training in a lab turned into 500 hours plus in a lab. That was something that showed me, like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
But even though I made it to the place of, like, getting into the water field, I still didn't realize all the world of water. That's where you come in. And I'm so happy you came in. And I'm probably going to get emotional, and I don't care.
You're going to make me emotional.
This is
it's
just
fine.
what it is.
Okay.
When I came into the water world, I thought at first it was only tailored to laboratory science, E. coli, culturing, all these things. Then I met people who were from AWWA. I met people from Water Environment Federation. And I thought, oh, there's water utilities. Like, of course there's water utilities. But if you're coming from a program that's tailored to public health, environmental sciences, that's not always like the biggest draw that they, bring you into. They're talking about research globally, locally, like there's just different things. So to actually figure out like ACE 23 in Canada, once I found that out, I thought, I'm gonna apply, I wanna go to ACE. And I knew about you because what you don't know is that I was insane and I listened to all your podcasts and they completely changed my life. I listened to them religiously to the point where my husband was like, can you please stop? I don't want to hear that woman's voice. And, like we laugh at it, but that's how much I listened to your podcast because they gave me confidence and it showed me like your podcast, you rarely talked about laboratory anything.
Yeah.
So it actually reawoke the part of myself that's community engagement. I did not know that you could place community engagement and water in the same sphere. So to hear you talking about that in such a detailed way, and then also talking about how we can market ourselves to get into the water space was huge. It was huge. It was life-changing. And all of a sudden, I changed from starting this program as like a shyer version of myself, which I'm rarely shy, but that's how you know I wasn't comfortable coming into such a high level of learning space. I immediately transitioned into full-blown confidence. So when I was at ACE, I did not think I would meet you, but I ran into a man named Jerry Griffin. And from there, I told him all about you, and I let him know that at ACE, I had seen you through the bus that I was on. And on this bus, I'm probably one of 3 minority people on the bus. And I'm like, stop the bus. You guys, that's Stephanie Corso. Can we please go talk to her? Stop the bus. And everyone's like, yeah, that's Stephanie. And I'm like, okay, they don't get it. So, of course, they don't stop the bus. We go to the plant that we're supposed to go to. But then I knew, like, you were here. So
Yeah.
I was on the hunt. I was really like, someone is going to show me where she's at, and I'm going to find her. But I didn't really have to find you. I said your name. People knew at the conference. That girl's looking for Stephanie. If you guys see Stephanie, please introduce her. They sounded the same way my husband did. And finally, me and Jerry, we went to a young professionals meeting where I got to see Chelsea and all these amazing other people in the water space. And there we go. It was like parting the Red Sea, and your face was right in front of me, and I lost it. Like,
It was great.
I'm sure you were like, no, this is too far, but that's really how I felt. Like, you know how like you meet a famous person for the first time, but this is like someone, you're different than a famous person because a famous person, we're enamored by the thought of being near them. But with you, it's like no, like, she actually helped me want to stay in this program that I did not feel confident in at all whatsoever as a minority woman.
Yeah.
So that to me is like so much bigger. I'm going to take a sip because I'm getting a little emotional.
You're going to make me emotional.
But that was really big because before I found your podcast and even before going to ACE, I only had a couple of mentors. Luckily, I had Ife Tayo, amazing. Past president of the Water Environment Federation, amazing.
Yep.
But outside of her around me, like living, there's not really many people that I knew. So to hear your voice and then to see you, everything just connected. So that's why when we first met, you had like this jolt of like energy, like who is this girl? But meeting you was huge because now I'm here at Raising the Bar. The thing that I would watch on YouTube, tell people about, I'm here in it. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's not something I asked for. It's nothing I even thought I could have. I was just happy enough to meet you.
I didn't ask you to share that story because I was fishing for a compliment. It's really to like hear the themes of why, because when you, in that first interaction that you're talking about, you know, you talked about how important it was to hear a woman talking about that, to hear a person of color talking about that, because it's the whole like, seeing people like yourself and then that giving you a sense of belonging. Yes. And I asked that question because when Ariane and I started that podcast, we have been credited with being marketing masterminds or whatever for having done that because the podcast was really what propelled us in the industry. But it was never, I would love to take credit for that being some like amazing marketing idea. And I was always telling Ariane books to read, and one of them was this book by, Entrepreneurial You, I think, by this woman named Dory Clark. And Ariane read it, and we started Rogue in the end of 2017, early 2018. She was like, we should start a podcast after having read that book. And I was like, I didn't even know what that meant. I'd never listened to a podcast. The first podcast I listened to was ours.
Wow.
Like, I didn't know what that meant. We hired a podcast mentor and coach to help us do that whole project. But we did it because for the past 10 years, she and I had both been public educators. We were used to going out there, engaging with community, going to conferences, meeting people, like hearing stories, sharing stories. And then all of a sudden we were thrust into this entrepreneurial grind, and we just felt like our souls slowly draining out of our body. And we were like, we have to do something for ourselves. And so for our own spirits. And that's like, it really started from that place of we have to start doing something to talk to people again, to share stories, to like, it just came from this place of something that was natural to both of us. And so like, that's why I went to have that experience at ACE, to have somebody come up and say, because I mean, you've heard that. We had a woman come up to us after a keynote say, I didn't know, and she was a young professional, probably a woman in her 20s, a Hispanic woman in her 20s, and she was like, I didn't know that I could be smart and funny. Like, I didn't know that I could bring all of these parts of me to my work. And so it's almost surreal when I had that experience, when we've had experiences like that in the past. And so it's not about me trying to fish for that compliment, but it's about like trying to thread out like what is the theme underneath that really resonated for people and really helped people keep inspired and motivated. Because, you know, in my own transitions here of moving, like I have to remind myself that just because I'm not going to be in the same role that I am today, like in the next year or so, like I'm going to be the same person. So I still have the opportunity to make the same impact. And so understanding, selfishly, it's so that I know that like I'm not bearing a part of my identity, that identity is me, and I carry that with me wherever I go. But I also think it's important for other leaders, for other members of this industry to hear, we are so technical, we are so scientific, we are so regulatory, as we should be. We're dealing with public health and keeping people, you know, safe, alive. But that there is this whole human element that I think we just brush off as we don't need to worry about it. that would be nice to have, not a need to have. And I think that there is so much evidence out there right now that shows, no, if we want to attract people, if we want to retain people, if we want to create an industry that people are excited to be a part of, it's only going to happen if we start tending more to that human side.
No, I agree. And the thing is, you said something powerful. It's true. We can be funny and be scientific in the same space. I think that's something I gathered from you and Arian. I can come in as my most authentic self.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel like I need to come in as a different woman. I think when I first got into the water world, I felt like, okay, I need to have my hair straight. I need to be completely crisp before I go into a room because there's not many women of color. So if I am one of the first ones, I need to represent in a way. But after listening to you guys' podcast, I realized like, no, companies are hiring me because of what I can bring to the table, how I'm speaking to people, how I connect with people, and my different goals and passions for community engagement. So instead of me thinking I have to separate my passion from water, I can bring my passion and water together as one.
Yeah.
And that's something that you guys really taught me.
Well, that's what differentiates you from anyone else, is like, it's ironic how we spend so much time trying to be what it is we think we're supposed to be, when really it's who we are as individuals that is what makes us stand out. Like, our authenticity is our greatest selling point, because there's only one of us and one of me, one of you.
Yeah.
And that's how you get brought into roles and opportunities, because there can be a million candidates, but they know that, oh, this person has this particular thing, this spark, this personality, this tendency.
Yes. Yes.
that can like draw people in and be the best at that job. And you mentioned imposter syndrome. So I have my own struggles with that, but what does imposter syndrome mean for you?
I think for me, it's sometimes coming into a room and dulling myself down because I don't want to seem like I'm this huge bragger or I am this powerful woman. The reality is I am a powerful woman and I'm confident. So
Wait, hold on. We got to cheers. You are a powerful woman.
Yes,
like,
I am
we
a
are a
powerful
powerful woman.
woman.
We're going to cheers to that
Yes.
right quick. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
But it's true. I am a powerful woman. And growing up, I've always had a large personality and I've been able to draw people. And for me, because I'm inside of my body, I think, oh, this is great. This is something people want to be around. And when I go to a company, I want to sell that piece so they understand that what they're getting is not just the job description, but you're getting my connections, you're getting the people I have personal relationships with, and this is going to help grow you and your company.
Yep.
So you need to understand that. And I think with the imposter syndrome, it causes me to sometimes just say like, okay, I'm just going to stick to the job description. I don't want to show off. I don't want people to not like me. I don't want people to not hear me because I'm being too
much
overt from my personality. And I really do believe that that's something that has changed for me, especially leading up to my graduation in 2 semesters. And I feel like, thank you. That is something that I've had to sit in, like, no, don't dull yourself down. That's what we've done generationally.
Yep.
And if we want to break general curses off of our lives, we have to move in the power that we've been given from the places that we've been to, the things that we've been through, so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love it. Do you think that that's something, because sometimes, and I'm further along in my career now, but I feel when I've been honest about that or vulnerable about it, people are always surprised to hear that I have imposter syndrome. I'm coming from a place where I give, like, on average, some sort of speaking engagement, presentation, keynote, or whatever once a month. I am nervous before each and every one of those. And it's not because it also goes back to I'm a recovering perfectionist. Like, I need perfection. And it's also, I worry that I'm not going to knock it out of the park. But there's a part of me that wishes that I didn't feel that every time. But there's also a part of me that's kind of grateful that I do, because it's a signal to my body that I care about what I'm doing and I want to do my best. But it's also that continual nudge to be like, I almost kind of like being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And so it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's something that's ever going to go away from me. Do you think it's ever?
I think it's good to have that because I feel like that's our humility being activated, and we have to keep that in order to keep powering upwards.
Yeah.
Once the humility is removed, you can say goodbye to all the things that have been happening. You can say goodbye to peace, all the things that are connected to that. So I almost like it because it shows me like, you're not too hot, sis. You can still get popped.
Stay humble.
You can still get popped out here. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think if it goes to a place where it's like full on fear, then you should definitely bring it back to yourself and say, is this imposter syndrome? Is this a generational piece? What can I do to move from outside of that and just sit in my humility?
Yeah. So I think the
Yeah.
best thing when it comes to communication, outreach, engagement, any of those things, storytelling, filmmaking,
Yes.
whatever it is, it all comes back to your audience and who you're making it for. And having as deep an understanding for that audience as you can so that you know what they need, and to be sensitive to the ways that you discuss things or talk about things or listen or questions that you have. And so I think well, first of all, let's set it up this way. I know that you are currently working on this panel that's about to happen in a few months.
Yes.
And I'll let you first kind of talk about what that is, and then I wanna talk about what I'm feeling related to that panel.
Okay, so this panel means a lot to me. To me, it's not just a project, it's really something deeper. I feel like it's almost me talking to myself when I was 20 years old, about to start community college. So this panel is called Transforming Public Health, Women of Color in Leadership. And I am one of the ambassadors for the University of Maryland through ASPPH. And one of our goals is for every ambassador to put on some type of an event or to do a service project that will, show that you were in that space for that year. And for me, I thought, well, I don't want a monument or something physical. I really want to do something that's going to be lasting interpersonally. And the first thing I thought of was, okay, I need to do a panel because my closest thing to my heart are my connections and connecting people to those connections, because I don't like being a hog of who I know and what I know. So this panel is going to be really focused on reaching people who want to know more about public health. You can be a current student, you can be a non-traditional student, or you can just be someone who's been playing around with the thought, but maybe you haven't fully decided on that. And I wanted it to really be those three audiences because that was me.
Yeah.
I was working before I started graduate school, and I was always playing with the thought of public health, but I didn't know what public health was, and I didn't know all of the different facets connected to public health. So I said, what can I do to help those people hear about all these things as like a quick blast to the system so they can go home and think about, what do I want to do? Or, hey, you know what? I should just go with the thought and the feeling of doing public health.
Yeah.
So the panel has 16 panelists.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to do a panel. Can you help me moderate? Just kidding. We have 4 panels. And I'm like, holy shit, 16 people.
16 is a lot. And I will say that's my personality coming through and my heart.
have learned. I have learned.
I just hate leaving people out. And it's crazy because I always feel like every person that I meet has like a special thing.
Yeah.
So even the 16, if you know me, you know, okay, that's Tay. There was no way it was going to be 4 people.
Yeah.
I think I wanted it to be 4. And I sat down with my chief of staff, Erin McClure, and she was like, Taeilorae, this is beautiful. No more. So I said, okay, I understand. And with that, I'm not going to name all 16 people, but I will say we're going to have 4 different sets in the panel to get people to know, like, these are things that are public health that you might not think of. So the first one, of course, obviously, is water. We're going to have the
course.
water sector. We're going to have amazing people from that sector who are going to be there. Some very important people who are women of color that I want people to hear from and to understand that public health and water are a complete intersection and they matter. And you matter when you come into the field. And even if you choose not to, but just so you know, when you hear water, you know that's public health. Secondly, we're going to have a panel on maternal and child health. Before I decided to get my graduate degree, I was the health and nutrition coordinator for Head Start and Early Head Start, and I wanted to make sure I incorporate that because to me, that is public health. And specifically, we're going to have a discussion about breast milk and water. Breastfeeding, breast milk, water. All those things are one, and I want to make sure that people know that those three things are huge. Additionally, we're going to talk about policy, health equity, government, all the different things, but the real piece of it are the women that are going to be speaking on the panel. They're all amazing. They're all doing this for free. They are all giving their time for free, and they understood the mission that I was placing, and they said, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Tell me when.
Yeah.
And those are the type of people that I want to meet, the different people that are coming. So we're going to have a lot of different people there, community college, maybe some high school seniors, current college students, just getting people's appetite ready to hear about what's public health, who is in public health, and to also see like women of color are dominating the public health field. And if you're a person of color, you should definitely come and learn more about this event. And even if you're not a person of color, we want you to still come and know like this is a field that we need to enhance and we need you in it.
Yeah. So this conversation is being recorded and lives on forever. And for the most people who see this, like this event will have probably passed.
Correct.
So the reason that I ask you is not to promote the panel itself, but just for people watching to see.
Yes.
You've just described this whole journey that you took from being this person that didn't feel confident at all to even being here. And now you are this person who is inviting senior level members of the public health space to come to this panel. But I ask you this question specifically because this is the part that reminds me, that you remind me of myself, is that every conversation that we've had about this, you have been thinking about who are the people and what are the questions and conversations that I would need to hear when I was sitting in their spot. And I feel like everybody that has been a part of this season of Raising the Bar, you, Jerry, Emma, myself, like we all can't help and think about the work that we're doing without the people that we are also like bringing with us and creating that space for. So like when you think about those people that are sitting in that audience at that panel, when there's people who maybe that didn't get to show up but are just hearing your story now and seeing you where you are and seeing where you're going to go, like what is it that you want them to know sitting where they're sitting at the beginnings of their journey and watching you?
I really think the biggest thing would be that you can do anything and that you should really be open to wherever your heart is leading you. I think if I could go back, my heart was leading me down environmental health for years, probably since 2010. But I was too fearful to actually take the step because I had a 2.3 GPA, because I had never passed a lot of algebra courses. I'm not going to say which one I didn't pass, y'all, because I'm too embarrassed right now. But just know it was hard. I didn't get past it. But those things can make you like stay stuck in a certain place of, okay, I can only do this. And because I can only do this, I'm going to go hard at it. But really in your heart, you're not happy or you're not passionate about it. And something that someone told me that I didn't like, and I want everyone to know this and remember it, was someone told me you have to separate your passions from work. You cannot. Is that not horrible? I know.
No. That's so
crazy.
true, though. It's so, continue, and then, I'll
I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard because I was at Howard University. I was interning for this very big business space. And the woman's like, hey, you just need to choose something, and that's your job, but when you get off, you can do your passions after. And I was like, no. I love taking photography. I love talking to people. I love environmental health, I love water. I can have all of those things wrapped in one. And not only I can have them, but I can transfer this into the communities that I'm working with, which are predominantly Black or predominantly brown people spaces. And I want to make sure that they know that they can have their passions in it as well. So for me, I first heard that person, and that brought me down a whole path of political science, but it really wasn't their fault. It was me for listening and for taking that on as a truth. They were older than me, so I trusted it, but now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, no, that was untrue, and I want you to meet people that have similar stories to mine who have actually decided to follow their passions, and it's paying off because it connects to their actual workplace.
Yeah. So as somebody 10 plus years ahead the road on you, I want to say that I would have said the same thing. Actually, I probably have said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I will say that while I do 100% believe and support finding work that feels good for you at the end of the day, if that's what you need, but everyone's different. Some people want to live to work. Some people want to work to live, that whole balance, and you do you and whatever. But if you're one of those people who lives to work because you are passionate about what you do,
Yes.
you have to have boundaries.
I hear that.
You have to have boundaries, and you have to always you cannot lose sight of yourself,
Correct.
because that leads to burnout, and burnout is not easy to come back from.
It's true.
So, when I was like in this weird kind of, I didn't know what was my next move or whatever, we went to a family member's birthday party, and I had like a whole bunch of family members telling me how lucky I was. But you love what you do. You love your work. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but I've lost my, like, you asked me before camera started rolling what I do for fun.
Yeah.
I was asked that question a year ago, not this October, but a year ago in October, and I couldn't answer that question. And that just started this whole crazy ass year and a half of who am I? What do I really want? What do I want to be doing? What means the most to me? And for me personally, I learned that this journey has been the most transformative one in my entire life, short of becoming mom.
No, feel that. No, you have to let it, like, you have to feel it, because you have to show us that it's okay to feel it, even at the space that you're at.
But monetizing what matters most to me and my mission, that was like soul draining for me. So I'm really excited about being able to do good work that's making an impact and being meaningful, but also being able to choose the work that really like feeds my soul, that I don't have to give a price to.
Yes.
So like y'all talking about the photography that you y'all talking about the photography that you do on your like special little cameras that you do just for you that I don't understand. Y'all were like saying names and numbers that I was like, whatever. So you're super into it and I love it. But like, you have to have that side of you that is just yours. That is like your reason that you were put on this earth in this time, in this moment. And then if you're lucky, you get to use that in a way that to others. Stop looking over there. You were like, oh, I'm gonna get emotional. See, this is, yeah. But to me, that's really important.
Yeah.
And that's a take-home message is to always leave space for yourself.
No, I like that.
And to always keep like a part of you for you. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I'm like comfortable with give. And so like I have not learned, work in progress. I'm learning to like keep that little space for me. So,
no, that's good. No, that's actually really good advice, because you said the word that I normally hate, which is boundaries.
girl, yes.
I feel like one thing I did not have before I started school was boundaries. I was working right after undergrad, and you're young, so you're just saying yes, 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 yes
Yeah.
to everything, and it's bleeding into life, and you're not happy. And even back then, I used to think, like, what do I do for fun? Like,
Yeah.
if I didn't, at that time, I had just gotten married. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't even have much to say. Like, I just happen to have a very adventurous husband. So it was very fun. But you're right. Like, that's something I do have to remember, especially I'm about to graduate again. So I'm going to come out hungry, ready to work. But there is a level of, okay, but remember, keep something sacred. And that's what I hear you saying. And I'm
Yeah.
happy that you reminded me of that.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to say that that's the best piece of advice that you've gotten, but what's your favorite quote or best piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
Oh my gosh. I think this is a hard question because I feel like I've gotten a lot. And I normally ask every person I talk to, like, give me some advice because, like, I'm so hungry for it. And I've gotten to the place where I'm like, I don't ask so much about advice anymore because I realize it's based off of your own journey.
Yeah.
So I more so look at my journey and I'm thinking, like, what have you learned in this thing?
Yeah.
And I think something I've learned that I will take as advice, and I'm saying this on camera because I have to remind myself if it happens anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that would be, don't people please and learn how to protect your peace. Don't
That's
people
great advice.
please and learn how to protect your peace.
Yeah.
Because those two things, what I've noticed is when those have been infiltrated, it's a direct hit on my personal body.
Yeah.
And I don't give any open door to any of that any longer.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good reminder. You're 10 plus years behind me, and I wish I would have learned that. A while back. Okay, so I'm going to have you, these are Rogue's core values.
Okay.
And so I'm going to have you, like, scroll through these, and I
Okay.
want you to find the one that speaks to you the most, and I want you to talk on that for a minute.
Oh, these are good, girl. Oh. Wow. Okay. You came up with these?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, but these
Those are from the beginning, so,
This is
like,
what everyone needs. Okay. Okay, I'm going to say empathetically serve.
ooh, good. Okay.
I think empathetically serve because we're in a generation where, like, when you serve, it's always on camera. And I remember a time when you could not do that, and we need to bring that back because that's something that is impacting our humility, which I said earlier, if your humility is impacted, your peace is impacted because you're not even being authentically your true self at that point.
Yeah.
And you're living to serve yourself. So if we go to empathetically serving, that's something that the water industry so needs.
Yeah.
When you talk to community and you talk about the new lead and copper changes, you talk about, oh, your neighborhood's flooding again, and we know that the neighborhood you live in is predominantly Black, and you all know it's been flooding for the past 20 years, and we don't trust you, so don't come in and touch anything because we don't like you guys.
Yeah.
That happens because we haven't empathetically been serving.
Yeah.
If we can serve from a place of empathy, the neighborhood and the community will trust us more. And then you yourself will have a paradigm shift because now you're thinking the same way that these people think every day in the neighborhood they walk around in.
Yeah. So when you say on camera, you mean like to check a box or for the gram or for, that soundbite on like a news. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, but so there's nothing really happening behind it. There's no truth or sincerity happening behind it. It's just, oh, yeah, sure, we do that.
Correct.
Got you. Okay.
And the thing is, when you do that, people feel it. And when you leave them, they leave more emptier than what you found them in.
Yeah.
So we can't continue to do that. We have to show people, I don't care if no one knows that I was, serving at this wherever for 2 hours and I plated your food via Instagram. I want to do it
Yeah.
just because I know that this is going to be something impactful. So when I come back with my team to teach you more about what's happening with the lead and copper rule that the EPA put out,
Yeah.
you're actually going to want to try to listen to me, and we can actually move together as a team, because you might help me reach everyone else who lives in your apartment complex or in the housing place that you live in.
Yeah. It takes time and effort
Correct.
and consistency to build that trust. It doesn't
Correct.
happen because you made a social post about it or, said a good soundbite on the newsreel. So
Yeah.
awesome. Love that. Thank you for picking
Yeah.
that one. I love that one.
Yes.
That's one that means near and dear to my heart. So cheers. Thank you for
Yes.
being here.
Cheers.
And best of luck in
Yes.
everything. I know you don't need luck at all because you are killing it in all things. And I am happy to be on this journey with you. So thank you.
Thank you.